don't know if you've noticed recently, but there's this comparison culture that's been created. It's almost been embedded into everyone's lives now, and I mean, it kind of has in two ways. We've inherited this comparison culture, and some people are switched onto it. I think more people are becoming switched onto it, but a lot of people aren't. We shouldn't be living in a world where we're comparing one another. We shouldn't be living in this comparison culture. We never used to. It was never like that. Our communities used to be small. If you think back to our ancestors, we would live in small packs, herds, and there'd be 12, 15 of us all looking out for one another. Now it's become, the numbers have become so great that almost that individual connection, it's harder to find, and we've gone from helping each other out to having just too many opinions. On YouTube, there's a lot of fact and there can be some fiction, right? What I'm about to tell you is fact. This is pure fact, right? No one's life has been worse off for getting rid of social media. That's a promise. And I'll argue to anyone, I might have kicked over a hornet's nest here, but that's my opinion. And I promise you, I'll go as far to say that I think it is definitely a fact. Things like Facebook and Instagram are just highlights of people's lives and reels of successes that can quite easily, lead you to that comparison, and in some senses put you down quite a fair bit. Whereas I feel with YouTube, it's a wealth of knowledge. It's an archive. It's almost like a library for your mind. That's quite a good way of putting it, actually. I've never thought of it like that. This library for your mind where you can pick up all these topics and learn, discover people that admire their passion. I got to a point when I had social media, specifically Facebook. Let me point out Facebook. I remember looking at my friends list on Facebook, and I think it was 200 and something friends. A very high number of friends, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this and agree with me. And you kind of think to yourself, I don't have 250 friends. I've had 250 people I've met. I may have accumulated those people along the way, but I don't have 250 friends. And unfortunately, what this has done, let me rephrase that. What it has done for me is allowed 250 people to be able to access me. You could almost look at other people's Facebook pages and say to yourself, well, how come they've got hundreds and hundreds of friends? And that's where this comparison culture comes in a certain aspect of it. You're thinking to yourself, why haven't I got all these friends? Why haven't I got all these people around me? And it's just, we don't sometimes take a step back and look at it like that, do we? We don't think that, and a list of 250 friends that we have on a social media page, they're just people that we've accumulated over time. They're not real connections. They're not present day friends that we kind of always associate ourselves with. It almost feels compulsive now. Have you ever done this where you've met someone just once, kind of a new work colleague, or I don't know, someone that you've bumped into, and that evening or perhaps the day after, if you have Facebook, boom, a friend notification pops up from them, and you just instantly accept it. But what I found is over time I ended up with this catalogue of people that I remember just thinking to myself, I don't really know who you are. I don't really, and then if they remember that there's some sort of value tied up in you, something that you can offer them, then you're easily accessible. And I kind of don't want to be like that. I don't want to be at someone's disposal and be able to, just give myself to someone. That's not how you earn. That's not how I give out my respect. And it's not just the people that are on your friends, as well as me, if you certainly have Facebook, that anyone can really contact you. Anyone can, you're available. You're accessible. You're like an item that can be taken off the shelf if someone needs something from you. The danger of this comparison culture that's taking over us all now is what it's doing to our younger generations. It's altering us. It's changing the way we're growing. It's changing our evolution. It's completely altering us entirely. Guys, what's happening? What is happening in this world right now? How are we ever so more connected than we ever have been before, yet feel so far apart, feel so far disconnected? I don't understand it. And let's look at it. Why do we? What do we gain from this? What are we having? I'm picking on Facebook today. I really am. I mean, I've had Instagram before in the past, but Facebook's the one for me where I just feel we're all, you know, all of us are almost in this catalogue. We're this list of people that, you know, anyone can just kind of, you're just too accessible, man. I don't like it, and that's why I got rid of it. If you need convincing, do a 7-day challenge. Come off it for a week, you know, or certainly drastically lower the amount of time that you spend on it. And what this is going to do is you're going to realize that you have this void. You're going to get a few days into this, and you're going to then suddenly realize this impulse that comes over you to pick up your phone, and when it's not there to be able to be met, that's where you acknowledge there's a problem. That's where you'll find that. And surely if you're doing that, that can't be a good thing, right? It all stems from this pandemic that's going on right now. I nearly tripped over there. I could have ended up flat on my face on the camera. There's this, I call it a dopamine pandemic. And I'm sure you can derive from that what I mean. There's this pandemic going on where, you know, where we all need this hit, this constant short bursts of satisfaction. And I call it a pandemic because it's global. It's everywhere. Now, I'm not saying that having something like social media is bad. I mean, if you have it and you can control it and it doesn't take over your life, then fine. You know, at the end of the day, again, disclaimer, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just telling you my experiences and things that are happening around me. And I'm using YouTube as this source. I want to come to you guys and I want to tell you the challenges and the struggles and the things I see happening in this world. And by kind of acknowledging these things, by realizing that they're real, I believe that if we all work towards making ourselves 1% better every day, and by doing that, sharing our thoughts, sharing our opinions, and sharing our experiences, we're going to do that. This is another reason why I decided to come off of Facebook, and then Instagram shortly followed. And sure, you could sit there and you could say, Luke, you're saying that social media is bad for you. This is YouTube. This is social media. And I can understand where you're coming from. I can see your angle, but hear me out and let me try and convince you differently, because I think YouTube has become this hub. It's become this place where everyone gathers to share knowledge. You think about how many times you've come onto YouTube to kind of find out how to perhaps change that tire on your car, or, you know, build that shed in your garden, or any kind of knowledge. You know, it's almost like the modern day search engine. You know, it is the new Google, isn't it? We all like these visual explanations on how to approach our challenges. And that's what I like about YouTube. And yeah, sure, it's social, but I just find a lot less rubbish on it. I kind of like it. It's drawn me to it. And I think you get to a certain point, certainly for me, now that I'm in my mid-30s, where, I mean, we're always looking forward in life. When we're young, we always want to become older. We always look forward to unlocking all these new privileges and being able to do all these great and wonderful new things. But there comes a point where we almost have to stop and we look back and we reflect. And the acceleration of this social media, this social communication world is just how it's transformed so quickly, so fast. And then when I do the maths and I add a few more years onto that, I'm kind of now worried. I don't know where it's going to end up. I hope that more people realize the value of doing something like this, like picking up a camera and just talking and sharing their thoughts. Because in a world where there's a digital answer for absolutely everything, we're losing that disconnect. We're losing the human interaction. And I want that to stay true. And I believe that this platform is going to be able to help people do that. If you're a geek about something, for want of a better word, if you're a geek about something, you can connect with other people like that. You can find someone that's making videos, you know, about it and learn from them. And this is why I love this community. And I hate the comparison culture that's being built on other social media platforms. So Facebook, I got rid of entirely. Instagram came slightly after. But the time that I used to, you know, sit there at home in the evening, doom scrolling, and yeah, sure, I was part of that system. I just nearly got attacked there. Thought I was going to have to deploy. I became part of the group of people I used to spend far too much time on social media, far too much time. I would spend hours in an evening just scrolling mindlessly, and for somewhat reason, I was lucky enough to kind of switch onto this, and not just fall into a pit. And this self-acknowledgement and this recognition of what it was doing to me has kind of helped put me where I am today in front of you, has brought me to this camera. And it's made me think about a lot. It's made me think about a lot of different challenges, a lot of different real scenarios that go far that beyond of any kind of Hollywood movie that you can learn from, which unfortunately for our younger generation is what they learn from nowadays. They learn from these screens. They learn from these fictional pictures. And I want to be able to kind of share what I've learned and chat about, different bits and pieces. So this was just a bit of sweat talk today, if I'm being completely honest. I'm just fed up with commuting backwards and forwards to work and seeing nothing more than people sat in these bus stops, walking down the path and on the sidewalk and just looking at their phones all the time. We're all so plugged in. We all feel so connected. We're not, are we? We're absolutely not. My advice to you is to stop consuming content. Stop consuming so much content and start creating it. There's only so much you can keep up in this head, or your head. There's only so much that you can store up there. It's like a hard drive. There's a certain amount of space, but unfortunately, a lot of people just push that limit, and they're consuming all the time, and they're taking in a lot of it. To be fair, it's just crap. So I was like that. Thankfully, I'm not like that. I had a good experience, and I wanted to share it with you. So don't overload the hard drive. Thanks for coming on this walk with me today, guys. Until next time, look after yourselves, and I'll see you later.